Hey everyone, welcome to another viewing of our Revive YouTube channel. We are so glad that you're joining us online.
Tonight's message is in our series, What I Believe About Blank, taught by Jon Bingham on What I Believe About My Story. We would love to have you visit us live at 50 Stanford Avenue on Wednesday nights at 6:30. But if you can't, continue looking on our YouTube videos online. Here's the message from Jon Bingham.
I've really enjoyed the testimony series. I've enjoyed it a lot because so many times you sitting in the audience think that, all these people that are up here, whether it's me or Ryan, my wife or Zach or Ashley or Tara or Brandon or anybody, you think we've just got it all together. Man, we just were born and grew up standing on the stage just fired up about life, right? And it's just not the case. We've all went through our own struggles. We've all seen our own issues. We've all been there. But I'm going to paint you a little picture of me and how I came to where I am now, because it doesn't make any sense to be here. But I am here, and I'm proud to say it. So I grew up in the south part of the county, down in the big metropolis of Reagan, Tennessee. I had awesome, awesome parents. I mean, the greatest parents you'll ever have. They'll do anything for you, still do anything for us today. I'm so thankful and so proud that they blessed me the way that they have. But the one thing that they didn't do, and the one thing that's different than probably every person that you've heard give a testimony before, they didn't take us to church. We never went to church. We didn't go to church on Christmas. We didn't go to church on Easter. We didn't go to church for VBS. We never went to church anytime. In fact, I can remember coming to church here with my grandmother when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, a couple of weeks. And other than that, we never went. So I don't have a lot of biblical background when I was a kid. The other thing you need to know about me is I grew up extremely introverted. I was scared to death to talk in a group ever. I would sit in a class and the teacher would ask a question and I would know the answer to the question. I would watch all these people get the wrong answer and the teacher get mad, and I would know the answer to the question. But I wouldn't give the answer because I was scared to death to speak in front of anybody. Now, I was okay one-on-one or in a small group, but I was scared. It's something that carried me all the way through, and still something that I actually struggle with today, believe it or not. But God's actually used that and worked that in my life for His good. But that's kind of the basis of where you kind of see as we'll start this process. So the one good thing I had in my life is I had a buddy that lived just over the pasture from us. We lived on a farm. He kind of lived on a farm. If you don't know what a pasture is, it's where the cows go. But anyway, so we could walk back and forth to each other's house a lot. And his dad was actually a minister. So I would get to go to church on occasion with him. And when I was 8 years old, I was actually at a revival at a very, very small church down in Sardis, Tennessee. And they gave an invitation. I understood what it meant. I knew that I had sin in my life, and I actually asked and prayed for Jesus to come into my life. But, and this is where the but comes in, I didn't do anything about it. I prayed it, but I didn't move. I didn't move to the aisle. I didn't walk down an aisle. I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't tell my parents about it. I didn't tell anybody about it. Because I didn't tell anybody about anything when I was a kid. I kept everything inside. I kept it all. I didn't do anything. So I held on to that. And I still do that. My wife, she just mumbled it under her breath. She didn't think I heard her, but I heard her because she's sitting in the front row. And I still do that. You're right. So I'm working on it. Anyway. So I begin this life where, I don't go to church. I don't have any foundation. I have no biblical foundation at all. But in my viewpoint, in my naive mind, I think, well, you know what? I asked Jesus into my heart. He's come in here, man. He's taking care of me. Who else? Who cares if anybody knows that? I mean, me and God know it, so what does it matter if anybody else knows it? And unfortunately, that was the way I lived my life for a long time. I went through grammar school. I was 4'10" and weighed about 400 pounds. I mean, well, maybe not that much, but I was as big around as I was tall. So, I tried to play basketball and I tried to do things, but man, that didn't work out. Man, I hit a growth spurt when I got to freshman in high school, and I'm as tall as I am now. So, man, I really grew up, right? But when I got into high school, something developed that, that God gave me, and I realized I had it, and that was personality. I realized I could communicate with people, man, and I could have some good times. So I started really working on that. And I found that it didn't matter who I was talking to, it didn't matter what group I was talking to, it didn't matter if he was an athlete, it didn't matter if he was an ag guy, it didn't matter if he was in the FFA like Kerry back there. It didn't matter. I could communicate with anybody, and I could make it all work. So that kind of became my new goal here. Unfortunately, where I went to school back in the day at Scotts Hill, I didn't hang out with many people that went to church either. So we didn't really do anything. But the difference was, while they were out there doing things they shouldn't be doing, they were drinking, or they were out smoking, or they were out doing drugs or whatever, I was right there with them. I wasn't doing it. I never did it. I've still never to this day, I've never drank a drop of alcohol. I've never smoked anything. I've never done any drugs. I've never done anything like that. And I always say it's because I felt the conviction that God put on my life when I was a kid to not do that. But here's the issue. I was with people doing it all the time, right? And I knew they shouldn't be doing it. And I knew that it was a struggle for them, and I knew it was something that was going to affect their life for years and years and years to come. And I knew the answer to deliver it. But because I didn't make that known to anybody, I couldn't help them. I couldn't help any of them. Still can't help them. Because most of them now are still struggling to find their own way. I only had 70 people in my class when I started. We only graduated with 58 at Scotts Hill. We graduated with quite a few less because most of those people were in the wrong way and were going the wrong direction. And they needed someone to help them. And I struggle with that almost daily because I had that opportunity to help them because I knew what the truth was, but I hadn't made it known. And that's something that I'm still working through today, but that's something that you have to understand, that you have that opportunity to change people around you because people can see it and can know it in you. So we're just kind of coasting through, man. I'm telling you, I'm coasting through high school. I'm worried about being popular. I'm getting to the top, man. I'm living the dream. It's awesome, it's just great. Coast on through, we roll around, graduate, man, it's great. Looking forward to the next few years, going to see what happens. And then, as God always does, He creates a pivot moment in your life when something changes and it pivots you the other direction. The only person I really had in my life that was pouring wisdom into me and godly truth and godly knowledge was my grandfather. He was an extremely intelligent man. He was a college professor. He had a law degree. He got me into computers. He had us programming computers when I was 5 and 6 years old. He built all that, but he farmed a little bit on the side. And I got to work with him. And we didn't do a lot of work. We did more talking and snacking than we did working. But I wouldn't give anything for the knowledge and things that he gave me. But a week after I graduated high school, he went in for a routine surgery on his foot, and he never woke up. I had never struggled with any loss to that point in my life. I'll be honest with you, I'd coasted through a pretty easy life at that point. I was good. I never had really any issues. I was fine in school, fine around. Never had any problem. That was the first moment I had a problem. And I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have anybody to turn to. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. So in my own way, with no real biblical foundation, I started praying. And I started attempting to pray. And I didn't know how to pray. I'm just trying to pour out my heart. And I don't have any idea really what's going on. My buddy's family, he starts going to church a little bit, and I'm like, well, let me try it. So I go with him, find out he's just going to church because there's a girl there that he thinks he wants to go out with. So that only lasts about 2 weeks. So now we're in the fall of the year. I'm trying to go to college. Man, I don't have a clue. I'm just kind of out of it. I don't know. But when the turn of the year comes, I had a lot of friends that were still Scotts Hill. I had a lot of friends that were in Lexington. I had a lot of friends that were Riverside. I made rounds in all those places in my high school days. And I was happening to go to a basketball game up here at Lexington. And this is where God finally helped me get something in my life that would put me back towards Him. I met a girl there that I had known or had met about 2 years earlier. And spoiler alert, she's my wife. But if you heard her testimony a couple of weeks ago, you know that she would tell you, and if you hadn't heard it, you should watch it on YouTube. So, because it's up there and it's great. But what she would tell you is that at that point in her life, in high school as a senior, she had spent the previous summer at a Bible college in Texas, and she had committed her life to Christian missionary service. That's what she wanted to do with her life. She was going to finish high school, and she was going to head back out there. Now, what she didn't know was, at the time, was God had given her a missionary field, but it was me. Because I can 100% guarantee to you, I would not be standing right here on this stage talking to a single one of you if He hadn't put her in my life. Because without her, I would have never known what it meant to go to church. I would have never had a biblical foundation for anything. So as a sidebar to this, because I don't want to get off on this too much because this is a different sermon, but if you choose to date in high school, I don't recommend it, but if you choose to do it, that's fine. It's your decision. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You have to be open about your faith with whoever you're dating. She was extremely open with me from the first second that we even hinted at possibly going on a date, that the number one thing in her life was her walk with Jesus, and the number two thing in her life was the fact she wanted to go and be a missionary. From the first date. If I hadn't have wanted that in my life, then she wouldn't have stayed with me. And if you're dating somebody and you're not sharing that with them, then you're spinning your wheels. And I don't want to be Debbie Downer up here, but it's the truth. But don't not date somebody just because you don't know if they're a believer, because you could be the only person that ever shares that with them. That's a sidebar. It's free. We won't even charge for it at the end of the night. Anyway, so the great news is her family helps me get plugged into church. We're going to another church here, and I hit the ground running. We ended up I go back to the same church camp she goes to down in Texas that summer. Man, we're doing good. I rededicate my life. But man, I still hadn't walked out. I'm still nervous. I hadn't come forward. I hadn't made it known, that God's been in my life and He's changed me. And people start telling me, and we start going around in groups and we're settings. They're like, "Hey man, you're gonna preach one day. Hey man, you're gonna preach one day. Hey, you're gonna be a pastor, right?" And I'm looking at them like, yeah, no, that's not me. I'm not going to talk in front of anybody. Okay, I'm not going to preach anything. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to find my job working in the corner somewhere where nobody will bother me, and that's all I'm going to do. So I nod my head, and I'd be like, all right, yeah, whatever. Okay, and keep walking. So that's just kind of where we went. Man, it just goes quick. We get married, like 2003. Aaron's born in 2005. We're just kind of coasting through, having a big time. And we start kind of feeling a little twinge in 2007 about where we're going to church and if that's really where God wants us. And it ends up leading us back here to First Baptist. So we come to First Baptist in 2008, Palm Sunday. And I knew from the first minute I walked in, that's where God wanted me to be. I knew that's where God wanted us to be. I knew that's where we were going to raise our family. That's where we're going to put down roots, and that's where we're going to start serving. So finally, June 15th, 2008 comes around, and I finally can't hold it in anymore. And I finally take that one step, walk forward, proclaim that Jesus Christ is my Savior, that I have asked Him into my heart, that He's actually been in my heart now for almost 20 years, but I've never told anybody really much. But I've got evidence that He's been there because of the way that my life has went, because of the way things have happened. And we finally come through that. I get baptized and I start working. Now, the amazing thing is that the opportunities for service and the opportunities for growing in my faith and the opportunities for growing and going and doing finally started happening. Stuff that we've been praying about for a long time, stuff that we had been talking about. But before I hadn't made it known, the doors never seemed to be open. But as soon as I made it known, all the doors started opening. Now I'm starting to get opportunities. And I'm starting to feel like, man, God's given me this opportunity here to talk. And what's the deal, man? I don't want to talk in front of anybody, but now I got this small opportunity here. And I'm talking in front of 3 or 4 people. And then, I got a little small opportunity over here. I'm talking in front of 10 or 15 people. And, okay, yeah, you want to be a deacon? Yeah, sure, okay, I'll be a deacon. Why not? Yeah, that's great. I feel it. And then, you got to give your testimony in front of the whole church. And I said, well, it's fine. I'm good. Now, why was I good? Because I spent 26 years of my life not wanting to talk to anybody. Why was I good? It's because I had made it known in my life that God was the one that was going to direct me. I was not the one that was going to direct me. I was not the one that was going to make my decisions. I was not the one that was going to follow my path. He was going to direct everything that I did. And that was the idea. But the problem was that I still had this one little thing, this one little itch that I still hadn't made known. Because when I came forward in 2008, I knew that I should be not only just announcing that I was saved and I wanted to be baptized as a symbol of that, but I should also commit my life to full-time Christian ministry service. I knew at that day that I should, but I held back because I was scared. I was afraid of what that meant. I was afraid of how that would change our lives, or what could possibly happen, or what we would have to do, or how difficult it would be, or what people would look at, or how they would say, or the negative comments that I would get. Because life was pretty easy at that point. So I held it back. I held it back, and I held it back, and I held it back. For 10 years, I held it back. Until finally, this past fall, I couldn't hold it back anymore. I'll never forget, I had a few different people that had talked into my life, and people that had told me, say, you really need to do that. You got the talent for it. God's given you that ability. You've got it. You really should. And I woke up one Sunday morning, and I knew that I should do it. But I had already decided I wasn't going to. I decided, before I even walked through the door, I already decided I wasn't going to do it. My wife sent me a text. I was here early, just like I am every week. When you run on sound, you're always here early. That's just part of it. If you want to be a sound guy, we'd love you, but you're going to have to be here early every week, so get used to it. And I said, no, not today. I'm out, not today. And she said something that was very poignant. She said, why not today? Why? What's the excuse? What's the reason? Why not? And for once, I didn't have an excuse. I couldn't come up with anything. So I just sat back and said, I don't know. I just don't. But when I started thinking about that, I couldn't hold it in anymore. And we finally came together that day, and I told her, I said, I'm going to have to go forward. I said, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how it's going to impact our lives. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't hold it back anymore, and I'm going to have to finally, truly submit this to God. It was the greatest decision I ever made. Now, I may never move anywhere further from where I'm at right now. I may never change. I may still be in here talking to students 20 years from now, for all I know. Heck, I don't know, but it doesn't matter, because I'm doing whatever God's told me to do. And I'm not doing what I want to do anymore. I'm doing what He wants me to do. And I've had more opportunities and more things come my way and more changes for the positive in my life in the last 6 months than I probably had in the first 30 plus years that I was on this earth. So what do you take with all that? What do you take with it? There's a few different things, obviously, that I want you to take from this. Number one, I want you to take the fact that if you're in a scenario where you're with people and they don't know that you're a follower, you need to make that known to them. You need to make it known to them that you have something in your life that they possibly don't. Because you don't realize it or not, and we say it every week, but you're the only person that may ever have that opportunity to give that to them. They may be like me. They may never have been in a church building before. They may not understand what it even means to go into a church building. You may be the only church that they ever see or talk to or communicate with in their entire life. And you've got to be aware of that, and you've got to make that opportunity known. The second thing there is that you need to know is that if you've made some type of decision, if you've committed your life to Christ, if you've prayed and understand what that means, and that that's what you're going to have as direction of your life, but you've never been someone that's came forth and made that known, if you've never come forth and made it known that you need to be baptized, if you've never come forth and made it known that you want to join up with the church, then you need to do it. You can do it tonight. You can do it right now. We're going to sing in a few minutes. I'm almost done. I know I'm long-winded. But we're going to sing in just a few minutes. All you've got to do is take one step. And if you're scared to take one step like me, if you're scared to death to walk that one step, I'm going to be standing right over here in the back corner, and we're going to have some other guys standing in the back corner too. It's going to be dark. Nobody's going to even see you. People think you're going to the bathroom. It's fine. And all you got to do is let us know, hey, you know what? I have asked Jesus in my heart, but I've never been baptized. Or I have asked Jesus in my heart, but I've never actually let anybody know that. I don't know what that means, and I want you to help me. And we'd be happy to help you. But if you're sitting there tonight and you're just like, everything I've said has made 0 sense to you. Nothing makes any sense. Because you don't understand what it actually means. You've got a knowledge of Jesus because you're obviously sitting in the church, so you've heard it by osmosis. You've heard it from somebody else. But you don't really understand what it means to follow him. I got a little illustration for you when it comes to that. Now, I don't know where these illustrations come from. Well, actually I do. Come from God. But this one hit me the other day, and I was sitting, actually I was in the middle of the night, and it kind of hit me, but it reminded me of something that it came earlier, and it reminded me of Matthew chapter 7, in the 21st verse, when it says, "Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, drive out demons in your name, and do many miracles in your name? And I will announce to them, I never knew you." So if you're somebody in here that's just going through the motions of coming to church and going through the motions of sitting here and listening to somebody talk and listening to somebody sing, but that you've never actually made that known, then you're going to hear these words. Depart from me, for I never knew you. And I got to thinking, I was in the school pickup line. All right. And my kids go to Kaywood. They got a real funky system for picking up your kids. All right, it's real funky. But you got to have this little tag. Okay? You got to have this little tag with a little number on it. And that little number will let you get your kids. They belong to you. You supervise them. You pay for them and everything. But you got to have this tag to get them. Well, I get to pick my kids up on occasion. And this day I got to pick my kids up. My boys, they're fired up because they know I'm coming to pick them up. And I notice about 2 minutes before the line's going to start moving, I don't have my tag. I've switched cars. I've left my tag in my backpack. My backpack's not there. I don't have my tag. But I know the guy that's coming around. All right. There's a lady that comes. She puts your number in. I'm like, she knows me. I've been around this school for years. It's fine. I'll just tell her my number. So she comes up to my window, and I say, hey, I forgot the tag, but I'm 578. She says, all right, go to the office. Keeps walking. I mean, don't even check up. And I'm like, now you know who I am. You know me. I mean, come on. But I'm like, that's fine. Because my next guy, man, he knows me good. Man, we run. We love Tennessee football. My kids love him. One of them loves him more than the other one. But they love him. And I'm like, he knows me. He knows me. So I get up there, and he's like, hey, man, what's up? I'm like, oh, yeah, trying to get these kids picked up. I said, hey, I forgot my tag. He said, oh, yeah? He said, what's the number? And I told him, I said, man, I tell you what. He said, man, I know you, and I know your kids, but you ain't got that tag. He said, if I let you in, I got to let everybody else in, too. He said, you got to go to the office. So I said, well, all right, guess I'll go to the office. So I go to the office, and there's this big glass window right here in the middle. And I'm trying to get my kids. They're my kids. I made them. Let's just figure that out. All right? They're my kids. And they won't let me have them. because I ain't got this tag. All right? So I go through, the woman's at the front, she's making fun of me because she knows my kids are fixing to be mad at me because they're going to hammer me because I'm late. But I'm not really late. I was there early. I just didn't have a tag. So I finally get them. I'm about to get them. I can see them. They know me. They're coming towards me. This woman, she stops. She said, "Where's the tag?" I said, "I don't have it." "Why do you think I'm here? I don't have the tag." She said, "I can't give them to you without the tag." I said, "Somebody's going to give me these kids because they're mine." All right? One way or the other, they're going home with me. So finally, they go in the office. They pull my picture up. I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, that's good. We'll let it go this time and let me out." So I finally get my kids. But they weren't going to let me get out these kids without this tag, right? But you got the tag in your life? You got the tag of Jesus Christ in your life? Because you ain't going to get into heaven without it. Now, He knows you because He made you. Jesus knows you. Peter knows you. And they want you to come in. They want you to be there. They want you to come in and see them. But they're not going to let you in unless you make it known and you got this marker in your life. So tonight, as the band comes on up, they're going to sing for us. If you don't have that marker in your life, if you can't say without 100% doubt that if your head hits the pillow tonight and you don't wake up, that you will hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." If you don't have that, you need to get it tonight. Whatever excuse you're thinking of right now, whatever is in your head that's telling you, don't do it, it's not from God. It's not from Jesus. Jesus doesn't make excuses. Read the Bible. There's not a single time in the Bible that Jesus makes one excuse about anything. He doesn't give you excuses. He gives you power. The only person that gives you an excuse is Satan. And you can still keep buying into the excuses he gives you, or you can once and for all come into the power of Jesus Christ. Two options when it's over. "Well done, good and faithful servant," or "Depart from me, for I never knew you." That's the only two options you're going to have. So you can make the decision one way or the other. Nobody's going to know except for you and God. But you can let it known to everybody else tonight if that's something that's in your life.